Okay, so now we are going to create our header and footer, and we need to add Bootstrap. So to create our component, we are going to go into the source folder. I'm going to create a new folder here and I'm going to call this components. So this is where I'm going to store all of my components like my header and footer, my search bar, maybe any kind of component that's part of a page. But for our pages, while they are still components, we are going to create a new folder called screens. And that's where we are going to store our actual pages like our home page, our product page. So I just want to make sure we separate those and keep those different. So pages and components don't actually get mixed up, but they are still components. So I just want to make that clear. So within our components, let's create our header.js file, and within header.js, what I'm going to use is this ES7 extension snippets, and we are going to use some shortcuts here. So this is that extension we downloaded earlier, and what I am looking for are the ones to create components here, shortcuts. That's their different ones we can create. So we can create arrow functions, class based components, and what I am going to use are function based components. But we are going to use a traditional method here. So I'm just going to go right into header JS here, and I'm just going to do RFCE, and that stands for React Functional Component Exported. So it's going to create a functional component, it's going to export it, and the reason why I'm using this function instead of an arrow function like other have done this in this series, because a lot of my viewers are more from the Python background, so they may not be too familiar with JavaScript. So you can use whatever you want, but I just want to keep it simpler so I am not confusing too many people here. So let's go ahead and within header, let's use a header tag and let's close that up, and with uh, within uh, that header, let's just write in header so we can separate that. So we have our header component, we also want to create our footer component. So let's create a new file here. We call this footer.js, and I'm just capitalizing these, so just make sure you are following that also. The C in component is lowercase. Use whatever convention you want, but just make sure you are repeating that, and let's create another one. So RFC, and here is our footer component. So we are going to use a footer tag again for this, and we are going to use a word footer here uh, a few times, so don't get confused. This is not the function. Component has a capital F and the tag has a lowercase f, so it's saved that. And I want to import these into my app here. So my app component. So what we can use, if we go back in here to create quick imports, we can use this imp or imn. So here different ways to import modules, and what I want to use is the imp. So we want to import it with this format. right here. So again another quick shortcut, so imp, and now what we can do is we can just say we can do dot forward slash components. So we can go and we can go into component that folder, then we can grab our header component here, and that if I click tab, it is going to send me back to that module name. We want to take that header, and now I can grab this component and I can put that in here. So we just need a forward slash at the end. And if I save this now, we are going to see my app, and we are going to see whatever we added in header here. So let's open up that and take a look here. So there we go. So now we have our header component within our app, and we just want to add our footer component and then add some styling here. And just to clear things up for those of you guys that are using that shortcut with me instead of typing it out, the reason why the component get the name of header or footer like we created is because of the file name. So whatever we call the file, that's what the component by default is going to be called. Now you could change this. It doesn't have to be the same as a file name, but that's just where it is getting it. So I want to make sure no one gets confused there. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste this import, and let's change this to footer. So we now want to import our footer again. We are going to into the components folder. So we are going to into this folder, and we are grabbing that footer. So for our footer, we are just going to paste that underneath here. We are going to end it in a forward slash, and let's just wrap our body in a main tag. So we have the main tag, and with an h1 tag, I just want to do, we'll just write welcome to ProShop. So something like that. So let's just go ahead and complete this and say welcome. Let's just say welcome. Okay. Now that we have this, if we go here and we have our header component, we have our footer and the body of our page. Okay. So now it's time to start styling our website, start building out different components like our header, our navigation bar, and styling the entire website. Now for this we could write all of our own HTML and CSS and just hand code all this, but this is not what I want to focus on in this tutorial. So for this we are just going to use something called React Bootstrap and a Bootstrap theme from this bootswatch.com. So this is just a website full of free themes, and we are going to use this Lux theme right here. So this Lux can use whichever, you can use whichever you want. We are going to download the CSS file, and automatically it's going to give us access to different styling that Bootstrap gives us access to. Now we are going to use React Bootstrap, and we are going to import this using an npm install, and what this is going to do. is this going to give us access to a whole bunch of different components that Bootstrap gives us. If you take a look at this, this is a lot like Material UI. It's a UI library, so there is a whole bunch of different ones like this, but we are going to use React Bootstrap and we are able to just import uh, these components and add them to our website without having to style everything on our own. So let's go ahead and look at some buttons here, so we can use these buttons in our website just by providing these code that Bootstrap gives us, and automatically these buttons will be in our website. It makes building out our UI a whole lot easier. So for example, if we look at this navigation bar, which is going to be the first one we are we are going to import this nav bar, and by adding this code right here, which we are just uh, going to copy and paste into our header, we are going to get this navigation bar right here. So instead of having to write that on our own, having to make it responsive, it's just going to make things a lot simpler. If you already understand Bootstrap, that's just a little recap, but let's go ahead and start uh, by first downloading this looks theme. So we'll go to bootstrap.min.css, and mine is going to have this extension which I am going to remove in a second, and we are going to pull up our project here. So we are going to go into front end, and within the source of our or the source folder of our project here, I want to drag in this bootstrap.min files right here. So I just need to remove this extension. You probably don't have it, but I have downloaded it before. So now it's just bootstrap.min, and I can close this out now. We'll open up my text editor full screen again, and within index.js, let's close everything out here. Let's go to index.js here, and this is where we are going to create that import. So I'm just going to put this under index.css. We are just going to do import, and we want to import from our root URL here, or basically from the same folder. So we are just going to do dot forward slash and then bootstrap dot min dot css. So this is the file that we are trying to import right here. So if you look at it, it gives us a whole bunch of CSS. So we are going to start using these classes, different components of it. It's just a CSS file. So once I save this, and if I look at our website now, once I refresh it, let's make sure that's a full screen here and refresh it, and our styling now looks a little bit different. So we have just installed this theme right here. So what we want to do is next is actually start importing this Bootstrap UI library and start using different components here. So we are just going to do npm install react bootstrap. So we are not going to do this extra part bootstrap because we are just using this theme. So let's go ahead and close this out. And I'm just going to turn off my server and we are going to do npm install react dash bootstrap. Okay, so that's going to take a minute. Once this is installed, we are going to start importing these components. Okay, I just had it paused while that install was being complete. So I'm going to start up my server again and let's open up app.js. So just above my custom import, so let's make sure the page is loaded. We can see what it looks like right now because this is about to change. So let's go into app.js and we want to run our first import from that bootstrap component. So it's IMD. If you have VS Code, that shortcut that I am using, and this is going to be a for a destructured import. Now if you don't have this, don't overthink it, just write out what I am doing here. So it's import the curly braces and from React dash bootstrap. Now from here we want to import the container component. Now we are going to be using this a lot, but this is going to be that first component. And in here what we want to do is wrap up our everything inside of main, so our body inside of container. So I'm going to take this closing tag right here and let's close this out. And if I save this, so I have my extension. So it's going to auto format that and here we go. So now welcomes have been moved to the right. So we created a container from right about here to this side. So we just wrapped up our body inside of this container component. So now I do want to use Bootstrap to create some styling here. So I want to add some spacing. So you look at this, there is not that much spacing here. Let's actually just use this, and inside of main we are going to add in a class name and this is Bootstrap. So PIPY and then the amount, and this is going to be 3. So let's just going to create some padding. So if I change this number to 5, it's just going to add more. So the amount that I want is 3. And if you want to look this up, I just want to start slower for the people that are more beginner with this. Here your padding, here's what everything means. So look up the Bootstrap documentation, just copy and paste that into your browser, and so that should take care of that. So let's move to that footer component and style this up. So we are also going to import from React Bootstrap. If you have that shortcut, go ahead and type that out and let's go ahead and just add in React Bootstrap. And we are going to do a little bit more than just the container here. So let's add in container, let's import row, and let's also import columns. So I just realized I don't need this to be a div since I have the footer tag. So let's take that out and let's change this to container. So remember, container has a capital C and so do all these other imports. So we have our container and we have our row. And what I am trying to do here is create that copyright statement. So let's add in the column. So we have a container, a row and a column, and we are just going to write copyright. And we also want that symbol, copyright symbol also. So let's just do and then write copy. Close that up and then say ProShop. Once you have done that, save it. We get the symbol right here and we have the copyright statement. So what I want to do is center this and add some padding and then move it down to the bottom here. So don't want my footer sitting up here right underneath the body. So for this, let's just add a class name, and inside of this class name what we want to do is we want so for this, to change this component to text here class name, so this is going to be text center. It is going to be center the text dash center. And we also want to add in some padding, so py and 3. So once we save that, that just got centered and we added some more padding. So let's add this to the bottom. So we can go into our CSS file. So do index.css and I can find that here. We want to add this to the main tag. So we want to add that and then we'll just say minimum height and we want to set a minimum viewport of 80. A minimum height of viewport 80. So what that should do is that should just make our main tag full width or full height, and this will automatically be set to the bottom. Okay, so now we want to style that header component, and for this we are going to use that nav bar from React Bootstrap. This is already installed, so we can go into navbar and let's go ahead and grab this one right here. So we are going to grab this and then customize it. So let's copy that and we are going to put this into header.js. So header.js, and I can replace everything. Let's actually change this to a header tag. So just like we did with our footer, and let's go ahead and make sure that all the indentation is correct. So I pasted that in and we are going to have some errors. So the first thing is the reason why we are getting these errors is because we don't want to see I want to add in some import then remove some of these extra component that we are not using. So in here we are going to import from React Bootstrap again. So React dash bootstrap, and in here we want to import a whole list of components here. So we want to import navbar. Then we want to import nav, and that's going to be a capital N. So we also want container. We also want row and column. Actually, no, we don't need column here, so we just need row. So we are still going to have these errors, and that's because we don't need form right here, this form. So we want to take this out and also don't need this drop down. So if you look at the errors that we are getting, it's because of these extra tags that we have not imported. So let's remove that, and that should remove all the errors for now. So that at this point here is our navigation bar. So we still want to customize this. So I want to make sure that this is dark. So I want to change this. I want to add some icons to these links and then actually change up the links and where they point to. So let's go back in here. So the first thing I want to do is change the navbar itself. So I want to change this to a dark theme. And if I do this, if I say that, my text is still going to be dark. So I need to add in a variant here. So variant, and this is going to be set to, let's see, we are just going to set this to dark. So that should fix that's up for us. Now that's why text, and we also want to add in collapse on select. So that's going to make that more responsive. And inside of navbar, I want to wrap all of these elements within our container. So we are going to use this container component, and let's start wrapping that here. So let's add in container. We'll take that closing tag. Let's put this underneath here, fix that indentation. And we also want to change up a few of these links here, so the ref will later on rectify this. So we are not using an actual ref. We want to use a React way of doing this. But for now, we want to point that to the home page. And for this, we are just going to say pro shop. So anytime they click on that, what could be a logo in the future, this is just going to take them back to the home page. That kind of conventional on websites. And we also want to change up this link. So this is going to be to cart, and this is going to be point to login. Again, we'll change these up from using an ref tag. But for now, let's just go ahead and add in a forward slash cart, and we'll add in login here. And it looks like I added a container in the wrong area. So the closing tag should be just underneath navbar collapse. So that looks more accurate there. And in nav I want to change this to ml auto, and I think that should be at mr auto. So let's just see if we have everything correctly, and then we'll fix up anything. So we have our pro shop link right here. This takes us to forward slash cart forward slash login, and we'll fix these up and actually point them to website later or to actual pages later. But let's go ahead and use font awesome to add in some icons here. So we want to add an icon for our cart and for login. Okay, so let's go to font awesome, and it's going to be cdnjs.com, and let's go ahead and start typing in font, and we should get this. So we want to get the link, and I am going to take this link and actually paste this into index.html. So this font is available. So just underneath my link right here for manifest.json, we want all main.css, we are going to paste that into index.html. So remember, we copied that by clicking this link right here. If you click this one, I believe it's just going to give you that URL. We want the entire link, so it gives us this link tag. So now that we have this, we can go into header.js, and we want to add that font right in front of the cart and login icon. So let's go ahead, and in here we are going to use the I tag here. Let's make sure that's closed off. And now that we added in that link in index.html, we can do class name and try to remember that what the class name actual fonts here. So this is going to be FAS for font awesome, and that should be an equal sign or symbol. So we are going to have as, and then we are going to point to FA dash shopping cart. So that should give us a shopping cart icon because we imported this link right here, the CDN link. And we have that because we added that class name. So that's what the CDN link gave us access to. Now let's go ahead and actually add in an icon that looks like a user here. So I'm going to go back here. Let's copy this I tag right here and put that in front of login. So still inside of nav link, and we are going to change this uh, FA shopping cart. I believe that's just going to be user, FA dash user. So that looks good. So we have our user icon next to login and our cart icon next to cart. So in the we are going to do is actually build out the home page. So we are going to render out some products. We are going to create a loop through an array of data where we'll actually have images, product prices, and so on. So we are going to output that and take care of the home page in the next video.